So Vivek, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Atul. Early morning, I forgot that this is 9:30. Then I remember, 9:30. Better meditate quickly.
Now I realize why you said same shirt.
Exactly the same. Just the
So
same.
good morning to all the participants who are there. We'll go live in another minute. Shikha, you need to tell us whether we are ready to go live
Hello,
or not.
sir. Sir, what
You
is
need to.
now? I think.
Maybe you and I can start a chat. I don't think anyone has joined from the school yet. So they'll join.
There are 5 participants right now. I think there is one participant from the school, I guess, who's in there. Good morning to you.
Yeah.
So how's the weather now in Chandigarh? Is it getting warmer?
It's warm and but it's up and down. It's been drizzling so Chandigarh has the unique position that every few days it rains, even in the summers. And when I was in Kalka, I remember every day at about 2:30 it would rain in the summers because of the mountain and what do you call it, that geography we used to study, the heat and the
I will just interrupt for a minute. What has happened is Army Public School. They are on their they're on their screen because they're not allowed to use Zoom there as such. So everybody is sitting there, and we can start the. We are live.
Army
fantastic.
Is there. Okay, right.
Okay, they're all together on the screen.
Yes.
Okay, that's why there is one participant.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Then we could have actually got them in as a panelist, but I think we are now all set.
To that panelist link. But I don't.
No, it's okay. I think let's start if they're there. Okay. They can also join through YouTube if anyone wants to do that. So good morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome to Ideas That Work. These are a series of webinars that Shalini and Vivek are conducting across India with all the top schools of the country. The idea behind Ideas That Matter is very simple. It's to inspire all of you. It's to share ideas and make sure that we can make a better world. So today I am delighted to welcome Mr. Vivek Atray. As all of you might know, Vivek is an ex-IAS officer, a TEDx speaker, an authority on several subjects, including leadership and interpersonal skills, an author. I think you've written 2 or 3 books, Vivek, including a very popular book, Finding Success Within. So Vivek is going to be hosting us today and is going to be talking about the subject, interpersonal skills. Very quickly, as a quick introduction, my name is Atul Khosla. I am the founder and pro-vice chancellor of Shalini University, very close to all of you. As a background, I'm a BTech from IIT Kanpur, MBA, and then around 20 plus years in the industry, 7 different countries, different startups, different businesses, 2 startups, I would say, which I did, the last in Switzerland. Came back to India. Last job was CEO of a very large consulting firm in India by the name of Oliver Wyman. And then some magic happened. 2013, I still remember, when I decided to come and teach. And I now proudly say I'm a very happy and satisfied teacher. I've never been happier in my life before. I'm a very proud teacher like all of you. So I think with that introduction and a welcome from Shalini, I'm going to hand it over to Vivek. The format would be Vivek speaks. I will be showing a couple of videos in between. And I've been consulting Vivek a few of my clients on interpersonal skills. So you'll allow me to come in as and when appropriate. Over to you, Vivek.
Thank you, Professor Atul Khosla. Very nice of you, and what a lovely introduction each time. It's great to be here as part of Shalini University's webinar series on Ideas That Matter. And it's great to have the school from Dakshai here, Army Public School. I think it's a wonderful connection that we have through these webinar series. And I'm glad to see that the entire school, the teachers and the principal have joined already and are part of this webinar. It is often that I cross Dakshai on the way to Shalini. I am a visiting professor and advisor with Shalini, as Atul said. And after my voluntary retirement from IAS about 2.5 years ago, I have been a speaker and I've been an advisor, and I'm trying to spread positivity and trying to spread the best thought processes that are possible in corporate, government, and education scenarios. It's nice to be connected to Army Public School, Dakshai. I have fond memories of meeting Army officers. Many of them are my friends, and people from families who are from the defense services. In fact, you'll be surprised to know that yesterday in the evening, I had a session online with the famous author Anuja Chauhan. Anuja Chauhan for the Chandigarh Literary Society. And you know that she is India's top-selling author of books like Bars and the Pricey Thakur Girls. And she's from Defense Services family. And she was talking fondly about her days as a child with her dad, who was transferred in the army from here to there, but great lives. And having been SDM of Kalka, I know a little bit about your area. And before I move on, I must tell you that I had a lot of memories of interacting with people from that region, as well as people from nearby areas in Himachal. So Kalka has been a great memory for me. In the mid-90s, when I was a very young officer, just started my career, I was there. So nice to see you all, and let's get down to the topic. Interpersonal relations is our topic today. And one of the things about interpersonal relations is that it is actually the only thing that matters. All other things that we deal with, like computers and machines and cars and material and resources and any non-living things that we deal with, are quite predictable, quite substantially going to do whatever you expect them to do most of the time, unless some technology goes wrong or something connectivity goes wrong, etc. Most of the time, human beings, on the other hand, are unpredictable. And unpredictability of human beings is the only law. I mean, there is no predictability at all. So interpersonal relations have to be dynamic, have to be understanding, have to be full of empathy, full of understanding for each other. And just to give you an example, obviously two colleagues who are together for 35 years, let's say in one office, they have to have great interpersonal relations. They may see their ups and downs, but largely they have to work together as a team. At times we don't get on very well with someone, but yet we work with that person and we do a job of it. So we have a formal or an understanding kind of relationship without going out of our way to be very warm and pally. They are different. We are not like them. So we don't really gel that well, but we still work together well. So in a lot of corporate scenarios and in government also, in schools and colleges also, two people who don't see eye to eye, otherwise the wavelengths don't match. One is, let's say, a type of personality who's more into chatting and lots of gossip and, let's say, lots of banter and gupshup. The other is quiet, reserved, wants to keep silent and to himself or herself, may not get on with each other, but they are able to work together because they understand the need to do so for the organization's larger benefit and the institution. So it's very, very important for them to have a working relationship, if not a warm interpersonal relationship. The third scenario could be that after 5 years of their careers together, they fall out and they have a misunderstanding which lasts and which actually dents their relationship very badly. And then they cannot make up for years and years together, and maybe never. We have seen in movies and films and even in real life that two brothers, they fall out over a small thing and then diwar khadi ho gayi, and they have to suffer the consequences of losing that relationship for so many years. I have given the example once or twice of Mahesh Bhupati and Leander Paes. You know how good they were as a doubles pair, and they won all the 4 Grand Slams one by one, not in a row, but one by one. And they could have gone on to win many times Wimbledon, US Open, Australian Open, and French Open. But they had a kind of difference of opinion or some jealousy or some problem. And they just had to, they fell out of with each other, and their relationship became sour. They could not get on with each other at all. So that made it impossible for them to play together, and India lost the best doubles pair that they had. And we were world number one. I mean, they were world number one, but we felt as if we were world number one. So very unfortunate what happens sometimes. So what are the factors involved in interpersonal relations, since you have chosen this topic? One of the factors involved is our emotional intelligence. How are we as human beings? And what do we think, and how do we control our emotions? Controlling your emotions is something which is vital, in the sense that when we lose our temper, we do not lose our control. If you lose your temper and you are feeling aggrieved, feeling bad, feeling angry at something, even then, if you do not display your anger and contempt and disregard for another person, if you do not shout, do not speak in a manner which is unparliamentary, let's say, or let's say that it is not acceptable, if you refrain from doing that, even then the damage is controlled. But if you come up with something which is biting, which is hurting, which is really caustic, so you say something which hurts the other person so much that relationships are soured, then it is your weakness that has made you say that. So our anger management is something, our emotional intelligence is something which we'll have to see. So anger management is a part of emotional intelligence and interpersonal relations. If we retain a balanced temperament, we may not be, as I said, warm to the other person, but we, of course, if we are warm and we are great friends, we have lunch together, we go for walks together, we work together, that's great, super. But if we are not, then at least we are respectful, we are cordial, we are formal, we work together, we are able to see eye to eye on official matters, and then we go our ways and fine, there's no problem there. So we have to go out of our way to cultivate interpersonal relations with all those people whom we work with. First, I'm talking about workplaces. Then I'll talk about home also. So workplaces have to have teamwork. And teamwork comes from interpersonal relations which are above board, which are full of understanding. And that is how it will work. I gave the example of Bhupati and Pez, but you can see the example of any team in sports, or you can see the example of any team in a department or in a school or a company. So it is very, very important to see that those organizations which do well are those where there is teamwork, understanding, bonhomie, camaraderie, and they are able to work together in a manner that really, really makes them excel. So that also depends on the leadership. The leadership is be able to bring out in the team the kinds of vibes, the kinds of thoughts and emotions that are conducive to a better success rate and going forward as an organization. And these also come from little things like encouragement. Encouragement to people when they do well, or even when they're not able to do so well, but they tried hard. Like you often write report cards of kids, I guess. Teachers write report cards. They may write, he is not doing really well and can do well better if he works harder, if he puts in more effort. Otherwise, he's a sincere student and he just needs to work harder. So something like that, which basically is encouraging, but is, is factual also. So you are giving constructive criticism and encouragement at the same time. Constructive criticism spurs a person to work better and go forward as a person who can achieve more, because that person is able to utilize his or her capabilities to the best. And the leadership or the teacher, in the case of students, has encouraged those students to give off their best. So encouragement is, anyway, there's a quote, be an encourager. The world is full of critics. It is very important to be an encourager as a leader, or as a teacher or anyone in position. And being a critic is probably the easiest thing to do, but it's the worst thing you can do. Criticism can only come when it is going to improve matters. By saying that, see, you didn't really do very well last time, and if I'm disappointed, but I'm sure that you can do well by making more efforts next time, by being regular in your studies, or in the case of, let's say, the management versus a teacher, vis-a-vis a teacher. So the teacher can be told these results or that performance was not as much as we expected. We know you tried your best, but we would expect more from you. We know that you are doing some part of your work as much as you should, but maybe you can do a little more. So something which spurs that person on and eggs them on, encourages them. So this kind of an atmosphere will lead to interpersonal relations which are much better than, let us look at another scenario where there is a dictatorial style, or where there is no time spent on building interpersonal relations. Interpersonal relations are about spending time. You cannot understand someone without having a cup of tea with them, or coffee, or something which is more, offline. If you are at work all the time, your working relationship is okay. But if you have also met that person or talked to that person after school hours or whenever there is a break, and you have had a little bit of banter, exchanged information, where is your family, what are you doing, you understand each other better. So the understanding develops, and the barriers of communication, they are minimized and they are even eliminated. So it becomes easier to work together. So we have a video which Atul Khosla will show you. And this is a wonderful research experiment which has yielded amazing results. And I'm going to request Atul to show the video of Aman now.
Thank you, Vivek. What wonderful thoughts. Working in teams and working together is probably the most critical skill that's needed in today's world. I just like to bring in a point over here, which I always tell when I speak, Vivek, which is, what is this? And that's the question I ask. And people tell me it's a mobile phone. And I probe it further and say, are you sure? Because to me, it's a music machine. For some others, it's a computer. For some people, it's a thing to show off. It's an Apple. For some, it's a great piece of design. For some, it's a great piece of electronics with some great software. So what is it? Actually, it's a combination of all of it. Point I'm trying to drive is that to come up with the iPhone, there are more than 300,000 people who are working together, from technologists to designers to architects. And all of them have to work together to come up with this absolutely stunning product. And if you don't know how to work with each other, it sort of will get impossible to come up with extraordinary pieces of art like the iPhone. And that's the skill that is really, really needed in today's world. So our students, our teachers, and everyone around in the world need to have these skills, which we call we skills: ability to collaborate, ability to interact with each other. So in the context of that, I wanted to bring a case study of Aman, who's a student of Sholini University. She's doing her PhD with us. So Vivek, the story is simple. Aman comes from a lesser privileged family in Punjab, was not a very good student in her undergrad and postgrad, but some magic happened in her PhD. She started collaborating with people across the world along with a guide, Dr. Saurabh Kulshrestha, and in the process, discovered something amazing. They've discovered a molecule that can kill bacteria by up to 99% in water, which makes polluted water drinkable. Now, this could be revolutionary. Aman has won the World Water Fellow, which is an award given by the United Nations. And more than 100,000 researchers apply for this award. As part of this award, she spent 4 months in Geneva. She's won the 25 lakh Tata Trust Award. And all of this happened because of collaboration, interpersonal skills, and finally, I would say creativity. Creativity that you bring in your work, which probably is not about interpersonal skills, but also about how do you stretch yourself outside the box and bring in out of the world thinking to deliver extraordinary results. So let me play this video, and I think all of us will then understand the magnitude of the discovery that I'm talking about. It is so huge that if it really works out, who knows, Aman might end up winning the Nobel Prize someday. Here it is. So Vivek, this is the story of collaboration. It's the story of creativity and how you can make an ordinary person extraordinary. How can you deliver extraordinary results? So I'm sure if Aman can do it, all of us students from Himachal or other places can also do the same. I've also got two more concepts to share. I think as you go on, I'll appreciate if you can bring me in. I love to talk about the Myers-Briggs framework and also about how teams are formed and destroyed. Over to you, Vivek.
Thank you, Atul. Wonderful research work and great focus on research at Shulini University. And I know Atul is going to ask me at the end, which is your favorite university, but I can tell him right now it's Shulini because great research and great campus and great people. So just to come back to the topic of interpersonal relations, and you can see how important teamwork is to success, as in Aman's case we just saw. Teamwork is something which really makes an institution, and leadership can bring out that teamwork and encourage the team to do well. A few nuances or finer points of interpersonal relations let us take now. Supposing you are not getting on with someone, and supposing there has been a misunderstanding. One of the things that the Bible says is forgive somebody 70 times 7, which means forgive somebody basically endlessly. I know it is 490, but endlessly. So which means that forgiveness will make things much better. Otherwise, we carry grudges which are for a long time, we carry that, bitterness or anger or grudges. And that, who does it harm? It harms us. If I carry a grudge against someone, it harms me. That person doesn't even know perhaps that I'm carrying that grudge. So that bitterness has to go by forgiving the person in the mind. And there was an advertisement recently of two men in a gypsy, or rather a jeep. And they were overtaken by some youngsters in a fast car. And the younger of the two men says, let's back and overtake them. And let's show them who the boss is, who is, bigger than them. So this other one, the more wise and mature person in the car says, we are bigger than them. We are more mature than them. So why do we want to get into this pettiness? So then this other one realizes, ki hum bade hain, so we should not do such things. So this, this kind of approach of forgiving someone for having done something may be not possible humanly at times, because we are human, we have problems, we have anger, we have emotions which are beyond our control, but we minimize these kinds of things. We cannot be perfect. Human beings, as I said, are unpredictable. They are also imperfect. If we were perfect, we were not here. We would not have been here. We have something to work out. But if we can control our anger to some extent, control our feelings of negativity to some extent, so that negative feeling, waking up in the morning with a negative feeling, going to bed with negative feelings, will not add to any quality of life. Ultimately, the goal of life is happiness. And happiness is beyond success, beyond everything else. If you are not feeling content and happy with your life, that means you need to work on your happiness, work hard to forgive, to forget certain things, to be content with what you have, to have gratitude for what you have, and then get on with people who are not, you're not able to get on with. Let's talk about family and home. Very important. If your interpersonal relations at home are okay, then you will go out in a good frame of mind. Spouses often get into spats which are okay. You get into little arguments, two people who have lived together for so long and are so close. It will happen. But to get into deeper problems means that there is a little bit of lack of patience and understanding of the other. The other person is not as perfect as you thought when you got married. Everybody is imperfect, as I said. Some flaws will come out. Some behavior will come out which you didn't expect. So these things will be there. But some marriages, they survive them. Most marriages survive them in India. And only a few break up. But these few who break up, they have to show a little bit of more understanding. Of course, if there is total incompatibility, can't see eye to eye, total difference, then that is a different matter. But if things are not beyond that rapprochement which is required, or that making up which is required, then that is necessary that we come together again. So a marriage or close relationships can also be improved with a little bit of forgiveness, a little bit of understanding, little bit of patience. And one thing that I have found is when you are in the middle of an argument or when you are in the middle of a situation, it is very difficult to see the bigger picture at that time. It is very difficult to be understanding at that time. It is very difficult to work on your emotions at that time. You should work on them when you are offline, cool, at early morning, before sleeping. You realize that today I lost my temper a couple of times. Tomorrow I'll try not to. When you have already worked hard before the situation on your makeup, on your mental makeup, your inner attitude, then you will be able to do it in that situation because you have already made up your mind. And if you are loose in that, that means that you don't care much, or you are behaving in a manner which is not acceptable to others at times, then that negativity is winning and the positivity is losing. So try to make the positivity win, and the negativity will recede to the background. Most of the things which upset us about others or upset us in general are not worth it. Most of them are just irritants, just minor things which we should not fret over. They should just be, swept under the carpet. But we make them, jisko bolte hain, baat ka batangar banana, which is often what human beings do. And then if you indulge in negativity and criticism as a rule, one of the things I say in these webinars is that, what is your day like? Are you watching a lot of TV news? Early morning, you're watching TV news. At night before sleeping, TV news. Well, I don't think it's a great idea. Maybe you can watch it for 20 minutes a day, not more than that, and not before sleeping. That is the time when you need some good reading, some good habits of meditation. Meditation will help you to become such a more calmer person and more at ease with your life, with yourself, that you will find that life will improve to a tremendous extent. Meditation before sleeping, after waking up in the morning, first to start with. I, in fact, would recommend a few books to you before I hand it over to Atul. One of the books I recommend is lying here. It's The Autobiography of a Yogi. And this is a book which I have read. It is a great book. It is not a religious book. It is a spiritual book. So there is, everybody can read it and it will benefit you. It will help you to understand life a little better. You can read the autobiography of the Dalai Lama. You can read books like Stephen Covey, 7 Effective Life Habits, 7 Habits of Effective People. So these kinds of things will help you. And my book, Finding Success Within, I will send the name of the book in the chat box. So have a look at it, and you can try and read that. It came out in March. It is about 52 life skills, and one of them is interpersonal relations. But I have focused on 52 life skills for young Indians in that book, Finding Success Within. And there I talk about these factors: anger management, emotional intelligence, seeing the bigger picture, building your career, happiness, success. What is all this? So all these things I talk about. Mr. Shiv Kheda has written the foreword to the book. So there are things that we should gain by reading. I feel reading also helps your students. You must encourage them to read more than their syllabus, and read storybooks, read novels, read fiction and non-fiction. It will really help them. I have actually 8 TEDx talks, and one of them is on reading, the need to read and write more. So Atul, over to you for your thoughts, and then perhaps you'd like to show an inspiring video on Shulini University.
Thank you, Vivek. I think before I do that, I'm going to need 5 minutes, if you allow me.
Sure.
For I'm going to bring in the concept of a framework called the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator Framework. And like Vivek said, it's critical that we understand each other. So social scientists have been debating, why are different people different? Why do I like to be organized, while Vivek may be a completely disorganized person? I might be an extrovert, Vivek might be an introvert. I might be taking decisions which are logical, while Vivek might be taking decisions which are built around emotions or feelings. So Myers-Briggs came up with this amazing framework called the MBTI, which I'm going to sort of share with you. It basically says that we all can you see it, this, Vivek?
Yes.
Okay, lovely. So the Myers-Briggs framework basically says that all of us can be divided, or we behave in 4 different parameters. And that's what the Myers-Briggs says. It says that all of us, if we can empathize with the other person, will be able to have phenomenal interpersonal skills. So what are these 4 parameters? The people who are either extrovert or the introvert. It basically means, where do you get your energy from? When you have trouble, do you like to be with people, or do you like to go alone, sit in a room and brood over the challenge? Extrovert, introvert. The second is, how do you take decisions? Are you intuitive, or do you take decision based on lots and lots of data? The third parameter was thinking and feelings. Again, as you deal with people, are you thinking logically, or are you emoting through the feelings of individuals? Let's take an example. You have to pass on a tough message to a parent of a student. Would you think logically that, okay, the student didn't do well, as a result, let's rusticate the student? Or would you go back and ask yourself, oh God, what if I rusticate the student? His or her career might get hampered, life might get hampered. And finally, are you organized, or are you disorganized in the way you run your life? Organized people are judgmental, and otherwise they're perceptive. So all of us will have shades of gray between these. There's no right or wrong style. We all have shades of it. No one is an extreme extrovert. No one is an extreme introvert. But it's important that you know what your style is. And it's important that you know the style of the person that you're dealing with. So if you can empathize with your peers, if you can fall into or enter the shoes of your peers, you'll see your interpersonal skills going up dramatically. Now, I use this a lot in my professional work. I've never used it in my personal life. I think I'll get to Machiavellian if I do that. But in my professional work, I look at a lot of this and try to be the other person, try to look at the other person through the lens of the Myers-Briggs to understand what she will behave if I behave in a particular way. So that was about teamwork and different styles, Vivek. One more thing I'd like to bring up over here. Again, it's a small piece of information I put together, if you allow me, which is about team formation because we all struggle working in teams. And I sort of wanted to share this again, Vivek, if you allow me for a second.
Okay.
So what you'll see over here would be my thought about how teams get formed. So every team gets formed. After you're formed, you do a bit of norming, you get to know each other. So most teams, actually all teams, will go through storming. So you don't like each other's style. We spoke about Myers-Briggs. So there's a danger of failure at juncture. High-performing teams will then actually get out of storming, move into norming, and then performing, and then lead to success. I think the message I want to leave over here is that the storming phase is very critical. It's important that when you're in the storming phase, you don't end up moving towards failure, but you push yourself hard, all of you, to move towards a high-performing team. And it would happen pretty much across all teams. I think the role of the leader will be very important, and all the skills and all the tools that Vivek spoke about are extremely, extremely critical. So Vivek, before I actually go into the video, would you have your last minute thoughts on a couple of these frameworks that I showed?
Yes, Atul. In fact, very good framework. In fact, I feel that when we bring structure to the webinar like this, because it's easier, the recall value is easier. And I would just like to also give some from the Myers-Briggs and the storming, norming, forming equations. These are easy to remember. I would also like to give 3 C's, which will help you in your interpersonal relations as well as in your life, and you can impart these to the students also. The first one is calmness. C for calmness is my favorite. A calm person exudes that positive energy instead of a restless person. Being energetic is not being restless. Energetic and calm can go together, and being a go-getter and being calm in the mind can also go together. So just try and maintain calmness in your mind. That is very, very important. The next is compassion. In this case, I would think that empathy for others, compassion for others, thinking out of your own comfort zone and thinking like others, and then you will understand people better. You will appreciate their point of view. And the third is communication. Communication is something which is absolutely vital for leaders, for teachers, for administrators, for students, anybody. So communication skills, and not keeping things to yourself which should be shared, and not sharing those things which should be kept to yourself. So that also is a great skill to understand what to communicate, how to communicate it, when to say what and how and why. So these kinds of things I wanted to sum up with. And I think it's a great opportunity for you to think about such higher aspects of life while this lockdown or whatever is going on. And the webinar series that Shalini has brought to you is in that line. So please think about these and try and improve your lives in whatever level you can. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Vivek. You know, I'd like to end by really thanking all of you teachers, not for being in the webinar, but for being the true Corona warriors. I genuinely and strongly believe that teachers of India are also great Corona warriors. All of you are teaching online, but more importantly, all of you have adopted to online in an amazing way, something that we could not have imagined even, let's say, 4 weeks ago. So all of you have ensured that the youth of India succeeds. The youth of India continues to be motivated, inspired, learns every second of their life. And that is exactly my passion. The reason I moved to teaching is because I get very excited by the prospect of making world beaters out of young Indians or young students. The young of the world have always done exceptionally well. They are the world beaters, always. And that's really the passion of Shalini. And I'm going to show a small video that resonates with this, and I'm sure it's going to resonate with your heart, because I think your school would also be thinking exactly the same way as this video is depicting. So give me a second for me to play it out.
Throughout history, The young have always been the ones to shape the future. And they continue to do so today. You are the country's biggest asset, our best bet to conquer the future. So what are you waiting for? Your time to dream is now. Dream of the research that can change the world. Dream of a high-flying corporate career. Dream of higher studies in the world's best universities. Dream of developing cutting-edge technology of the future. Dream of your own global startup. At Shooling University, we empower you and enable you to chase your dreams and change the world. Shooling University. Think learning, think success.
Thank you everyone. Thank you, Vivek. I can see a few thoughts, I can see a few questions, but please ask questions. I think all of you are together. It might be a little difficult, but please ask questions. There's one, Vivek, you might want to read it and answer this. It's in the chat bot. You are on mute, Vivek.
Thank you, Atul. First of all, thank you for the message of gratitude, and nice of you to mention both of us. Secondly, expectations, I think, is a major cause of stress. It spoils interpersonal relations, both at work as well as home. So is there any way where this competition can be made balanced? Okay. So this is a good question from the school. Expectations actually are, you're right, the reason for a lot of stress in interpersonal relations, because you expect more from the person, you expect different things from the person. As I said, when people get married, the other person seems to be the best person in the world and totally perfect in so many, then you realize that no, this person is not as perfect as you thought. And so many things start creeping in. But yet, I mean, life goes on, marriages go on, and understanding continues. So basically, expectations have to be reasonable. And if they are let down, if you are let down by not meeting of expectations, then you have to somehow understand the reasons for it and be patient with the other person. You have to show that understanding and patience if the other person is not. And if the other person is not really cooperating with you and you expect more from that person, maybe counseling them, maybe sitting down when the things are not so difficult at that time, a little bit of conversation, a little bit of discussion in a calm framework. Another part of the question has also come, I think.
I think Kamal is just asking.
That's a technical one. All right, Atul, you'd like to add expectations, interpersonal relations?
I think it's an important one, and I was just thinking of an incident in my life where I just had a very, very, very tough colleague, impossible to work with. What do you do in those situations, Vivek? I mean, you try very hard, you try to take him or her out, but that person is just always against you, always negative. Is there a way, or should we just ignore?
I think it's a very pertinent point, and it does happen that you come across impossible people, and they may be in a position of power also. It may be your boss at a time, maybe a colleague at a time, or a junior. So when you have such a person, the first thing to do is not to fall prey to the same tendencies. So if you are going to become the same level, which often people succumb to that temptation, then things are going to get really bad. So you have to show that large-heartedness, and you have to show a fortitude also. You have to be tough and firm also, not allow the other person to take you lightly. And if it comes to a really difficult situation where things are not working out at all despite your best efforts, then it is better to just sidestep and try to be in different areas of work. If it is still necessary, then a cordial understanding to agree to disagree has to be created. That's the only way that I can see. But you have to be patient and calm. Let the other person do whatever, and then only you will get benefits. I also feel that sometimes just sending a message or sending an email or giving a phone call to that person out of the blue when things are really bad also helps at times. So maybe that can be tried.
I'd also like to mention over here, Army Public School, that we've upgraded you. You can actually interact with us. Kamal just figured it out, and you can actually ask a question even through the audio, or you can put your video on. We'll leave that to you. But I think as you get ready, I have a couple of other, we can promote them as a panelist if we can. Shikha, we can try to do that. It'll be nice to see the audience. It'll be nice to see the teachers. Right, absolutely. If we can, I think I can at least see the Army Public School banner here. But if you can see the video and audio, that'll be absolutely wonderful. So Vivek, I have to tell you one incident. I had a very, very tough boss. Well, I wouldn't say tough, probably. I was being tough or, oh, lovely. Hello, hello everyone. It's so lovely to see all of you.
Yes, now we can see you. Thank you for joining in such a large group, and good to see all of you sitting together. Now we can see your video. You want to ask anything, you can speak also if you like. If your mic is, you can mention anything you like. Sure.
Good morning to both the panelists.
Good morning.
I'm Dr. S.K. Mishra, the principal of this APS Dakshai. And it's a wonderful session. Let me express on behalf of APS fraternity, a great gratitude to both of you for sparing your valuable time to us. A great learning. And it has really made us to think what I feel the key factor which is deteriorating our performance, which is degrading our values, is the topic which you have talked about, interpersonal relationship. In the same context, Mr. Vivek Atray, you have said that the best way to reduce the gap is to forgive, and you have quoted the example of one from the Bible also. Wonderful this thing, but as a principal, to what level? Because when you're working in an organization, you're bound with certain rules and regulations. You cannot allow anyone to cross that line. You give first, say, a kind of counseling, second counseling. But again, if it doesn't improve, you cannot keep on forgiving. So what is your view on that?
So very good question. I think I'll take this first, and then maybe you have other points. So I think you are absolutely right. You are, after all, in a leadership role, and firmness is also important, and control is also important. Discipline is also important. I've been an administrator myself. Atul is an administrator and a teacher of a university.
Exactly.
It is very important to not be taken lightly also, no doubt about it. You have to balance your leadership skills by encouraging others to improve to a point. And if that person takes the first chance, doesn't come back rightly, second chance again doesn't, some warning also has to be given, some amount of punishment in terms of written warning or something also may be given. Rules are rules. They cannot be taken lightly, no doubt about it. But that person, if he is under duress and fear and stress, not really likely to improve the performance. So has to be encouraged to try his best. And if not able to, then you say that, I'm sorry, I won't be able to help you. If beyond this, you are not able to improve matters. So the carrot and stick policy has to be there. The firmness has to be there as well as the understanding. Some people go overboard with one, and most people go overboard with over-disciplining. So that is something which I was talking about. So interpersonal relations should be those of respect. Authority is important, but respect is more important. That's my feeling.
Thank you.
Sanjay ji, I'm very tempted to share a beautiful framework with all of you, if you allow me.
Yeah, sure, sir. Please go ahead.
So think about people following their lives along two axes. On one axis, you've got rules, not following rules, following rules. On another axis, you've got dharma or values, following dharma, not following dharma. So there are four quadrants. You're following rules, but you're following dharma. You're not following rules, you're not following dharma. You're following the rules, but not following dharma. And you're following both of them. And I'll give examples from the Mahabharata over here. So on the extreme end, we had following dharma, following rules. And if you go by mythology, that's Lord Rama. He would go by rules and he would follow the dharma, Vivek. So that's, the optimal. Then there are people who would follow dharma but not follow rules. That's Lord Krishna. So he would break the rules but always follow the dharma. Then there were people who would follow rules but not follow dharma. That is Duryodhana. So he would always follow the rule, but he was not in the dharma side. And of course, people like Yudhishthir, they say, were sort of moving from different quadrants all the time. So the message I'd like to give over here is that people who follow rules for the heck of following rules are also very dangerous. Yeah. And I actually give this example to my teachers. I say, you go to class, okay, you've reached the class and you've delivered the lecture. But if you've not prepared for the class, then you're not following a dharma while you followed the rules. So you're actually Duryodhana. So I think if there are people who consistently follow the values, then they are changeable. You can guide them and you can move them towards both following rules. And you don't want people breaking the rules all the time also. But to me, values and dharma are also very, very important beyond the rules. We don't want guys who just tick the box, but otherwise are mischief mongers. So I don't know whether this framework is helpful, but I use this in my life. One of my very dear friends, Vivek, actually gave this framework to me. It's actually a great way to communicate to people because they understand whether they want to be a Duryodhana or a Rama or a Krishna and really love the framework.
Principal Saab, you have any more questions? Please add.
No. Thank you very much for enlightening such a wonderful thing. We are really, what to say about that? We have added in our so-called our personality. Maybe in future, before we take any kind of action, we will give a thought what you have said. Thank you very much.
Wonderful to hear.
We loved, I think I haven't seen so many people for a very long time. So I'm getting energy from the audience. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you very much, everyone from Army Public School, Lakshya. It's a true honor. Thank you, Vivek, for being such a wonderful speaker, inspiring all of us. And once again, we'd love to be back. I think once Corona is over, Sanjay ji, we'd love to invite you over. But more importantly, I'd love to come over and meet with you, meet all of you along with Vivek at your school. It's so lovely that you've got great technology. You can all sit together and you can, do this as a community rather than, each one of us on our cell phones. So congratulations to your school for being such a pioneer around technology. Once again, thank you. Be safe and have a great day.
Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you.
Okay, this is, I believe, a wonderful session. Thanks to Ravi.